The following program discusses sensitive issues. Parents are cautioned that some material may be too candid for younger children.
Welcome to The New Journey, a program where you meet real-life people with real-life testimonies doing real-life ministry for Jesus Christ. I'm your host, Aaron Chancy. Come join us on The New Journey. Welcome back to The New Journey. Today we have a set of twins on the program, and you definitely will not want to miss this. I'd like to thank y'all for being on the program today.
Thank you for having us.
For the record, what's y'all's names, how old are you, and where are y'all from?
Well, my name is Trecia, Lyon.
I'm Keisha, and we're 33.
33 years old, okay.
Yes.
Talk about where you're from.
Well, we both grew up in Jamaica. We were born and raised in Jamaica.
Okay.
Came to America at the age of 13.
Yep.
Okay.
Grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, okay. What was it like making that transition from Jamaica to Brooklyn, New York, from out of the States into the United States? What was it like?
Difficult.
Okay, okay.
We had jerry curls, so
Okay.
it was really difficult.
I would say it was definitely a culture shock.
Okay,
Culture shock because we grew up in the country part of Jamaica, so we were sheltered, and then we moved directly to the city.
Okay.
So it was
Exactly
culture
what
shock.
part of Jamaica did you guys grow up
We
in?
grew up in Clarendon.
Clarendon, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I have been to Jamaica. I'm familiar with Montego Bay, stuff like that, Kingston, Jamaica, but y'all aren't from the city.
No, it's the country. The
So to go
country
from the
country.
country to Brooklyn, New York, I can imagine that's a very extreme culture
Yes.
shock. So talk about your early childhood life. What was it like, things that you got involved in at a younger age, the household that you came from? Talk about that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Well, we grew up in Jamaica. Like, our father was a pastor.
Okay.
And we went to church regularly on Sundays.
Okay.
We were not Seventh-day Adventists. And when we came to America, that changed a lot.
Okay.
We started becoming more involved with the street life.
Okay.
And that kind of changed us and changed our perception of the world.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you went to church on Sundays. What was the religious background of the household growing up?
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal, okay. So your father was a Pentecostal preacher.
Yes.
Y'all went to church on Sundays. You hear some people say that, yeah, we were Pentecostal, or whatever religion, but we only went to church every now and again. Were y'all there like?
We were there every day religiously.
Every single Sunday.
They were very strict.
Sunday school.
Okay.
I mean, even Sunday evening worship.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
So
a strict household.
what was it like growing up in the household? Did you have the mother and the father in the home, siblings? How was that like?
Well, both our parents were there. They are still married.
Okay.
And we
Praise
grew
the
up
Lord.
with three brothers. So it
Within
was
the
like five of
household.
us
Okay.
that grew up together.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now where are y'all at? Are y'all the oldest, the
We're the
youngest,
middle. We're in the middle.
Okay, okay, that's great. So you came from Jamaica, you migrated to Brooklyn, and I assume y'all were in about middle school, about 7th, 8th grade at that time?
We came in the 8th grade,
Yeah,
yeah.
they call it.
Okay, so how was it transferring from schools in Jamaica to a school in Brooklyn, New York?
It was very difficult to transition because we had strong accents.
Okay.
And we looked differently, we dressed differently. And I mean, children that age don't definitely,
Yeah.
like different.
Okay.
They want you to be like them.
Yeah.
And so we were beaten up. We were, they were at us all the time.
Yeah.
One time we didn't go to school. I didn't go to school for 2 weeks one time because it was just that crazy.
Yeah.
So it was hard to really adapt to the situation.
Okay.
Then on top of it, being in Jamaica, it's a uniformed country.
Okay.
So you wear uniforms to school. You all look alike.
Yeah.
And going to a school in America now, everyone looks different. And we
Yeah.
were not like the flyest chicks on the block. We weren't looking good at all.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one
thought we
outfit
were.
had
You thought you were.
was like a tablecloth. We had a skirt.
Oh, they
we weren't
said-
we weren't even allowed to wear pants when we were growing up.
Okay.
So the clothing choice by our parents was just
Yeah,
it just
okay.
wasn't kids friendly, children friendly.
So how did y'all deal with that? Because pretty much everybody knows how kids tend to pick on each other
Yeah.
if your clothes are a little bit different or you don't have a certain type of shoe. people tend to pick on, and it leads to a lot of bullying these days.
Oh, yeah.
But how did y'all tend to deal with being picked on and things like that?
I cried every day.
Okay.
I mean, I cried every single day.
Okay.
When I came from I'm from Jamaica. Every day I cried. I just wanted to go back.
Okay.
Because it was just so difficult, because you're not used to people being so mean.
Okay.
You know, for nothing at all, for no reason at all. Just talking was like, people made fun of me just by the way that I spoke.
Okay.
So just those things were just very disheartening. They're very discouraging. I think you know, things started building up inside of you.
Yeah.
As a result of that.
Okay.
I don't think they're the way you can deal with it at that age. 13 years old and you're getting bullied, and there's just no way. It's just pretty much just like kind of waiting out.
Okay.
Now, when we went to high school, we dealt with it differently, because
Okay.
we had to have a different persona. We were no longer those little girls that get, you know, we were beating people up.
Okay.
You know, we had to be tough. And that's kind of how, I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but that's kind of how we had to do it in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's how you adapt it. Okay. Well, growing up as twins, because I myself have a set of twins, twin daughters, and I know that they have a very close bond. Talk about that bond that y'all had at a young age, and how it was, even though you were around different people, even different family members, because you have other siblings as well, going to school with other people, but you always had each other. So talk about that bond that y'all had growing up.
Keisha and I were pretty close.
Okay.
Especially as teenagers.
Okay.
We were very, very close, because we weren't with our brothers. Our brothers were still in Jamaica.
Okay.
So it was just us. So we formed a very close-knit bond, and we weren't getting along with our parents, so we were even closer.
Okay.
It was always us against the world.
Okay. Okay.
So to a point where we could actually feel each other's pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something
Wow.
was going on.
Wow.
We were able to feel. If she had a headache, I had a headache. If she,
wow.
you know, if something was going on with her body, I felt it.
Yes.
Like even one time she had a heartbreak going on, and I was in class wondering, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? You know, I'm heartbroken,
Wow.
but why? You know, and then
Wow.
I remembered, wait, Keisha's dealing with something.
Okay.
You know?
Wow, that's interesting. So you mentioned a second ago that your parents weren't getting along. You and your parents, y'all didn't have the best relationship. What was going on with that situation?
I think coming from Jamaica, we were these innocent girls.
Okay.
And then we came, and it's like, bam, like once we hit like, what, 9th grade summer, like the summer before 10th grade, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, when you hit that teenage year, you don't really get along that
yeah.
well with
Yeah.
them, because you have a difference in views, you know?
Okay.
And so that's what was going on. We, you know, started to do things, get involved in different things that were not
Okay.
right, and so that was a challenge with them.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you got involved in things, and you got involved in drugs, using drugs a little bit. At what age did y'all begin getting involved in drugs, as well as what drugs did you use? And lastly, why? What was the motivating factor that led you towards these drugs?
We started around like 15,
Okay.
16. We started using marijuana.
Okay.
We had started alcohol early
Okay.
on, because we kind of were around it. Even though our parents are Christians, they didn't have alcohol in the house, but we were kind of around other people who,
Okay.
who did it. So
Okay.
as far as like smoking marijuana, it was just more of like you're around the wrong people,
Okay.
the wrong set of people, the wrong group of people. That's what they do. Even though, you know, so that it becomes a part of who you are. And
Yeah.
then it becomes easier to try it.
I think also around that time, because, you know, we had a traumatic childhood
Okay.
around the age of 4 and 5 years old, you know, so I think around the time we started to numb things were starting to come
Okay.
out that we didn't know how to deal with,
Okay.
memories of our past and stuff like that. So we started to numb, because
Okay.
I know that was what I was doing. I was
Yeah.
numbing.
Okay. Now, in terms of, because that's the answer that a lot of folks give, is that we're trying to numb. And I've been there as well, where, you know, you're dealing with different issues and you don't necessarily know how to deal with it, because, I mean, you're a young age, you don't have the best relationship with your parents at times, and you begin to self-medicate. And y'all did that as well. And what were some of the things that you were going through at a younger age that you felt that led you to that, or that you were trying to cover up with?
We were, do you want to?
I think we were both sexually assaulted when we were younger.
Okay.
So that was something that forced us to kind of try to cover up that pain.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then also, I don't think we had the best home life.
Okay.
It was just more of like dysfunctional.
Okay.
So,
A lot of conflict in the home.
you
a
know,
lot
so
of
it was just like we were just always trying to cover that up. We were always trying to find a way to deal with that. So
Yeah.
it was easier to just get involved.
Okay.
And just take drugs on as a way of, you know, medicating yourself,
Okay.
self-medicating.
Definitely. So when y'all began using marijuana, alcohol, Did your parents know at the time, or was it kind of secretive, or
It's
how did
not
that
like
work?
we were hiding because we had no fear of anything.
Yeah, we had no fear.
We didn't fear
We were-
anybody.
we were
probably didn't even
fearless.
fear God.
Wow.
We didn't fear
We were
God
just
either.
not, we didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had a no care attitude, so
It didn't matter
we
if
weren't
they
trying
knew
to
or
hide
not.
it. It was
Okay.
just like if you knew, you knew. If you didn't know, you
And
didn't.
they
You
knew.
don't know. Okay. Okay.
They knew.
Eventually, they started realizing that we were using.
Okay. Now, Keisha, you eventually got involved in dancing. Talk about your experiences with that. What motivated you to get involved in dancing? If you could shed some light upon that.
Okay, I was about around 18.
Okay.
You know, I didn't have a green card, and you know that's something that you need
Yeah,
if
definitely.
you're from the Caribbean.
Okay.
But I think for me personally, I really was just trying to make a living,
Okay.
and so I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
And so I got involved in that whole lifestyle where I'm taking off my clothes
Okay.
to make a living. You know, Aaron, I'm not proud of my past. I'm not proud of some of the things that I've done. But what I am proud of is the woman that I am today.
Yes. Yes.
And I think those things that I've done, God has used them to make me a woman of virtue,
Amen.
of power, you know, and so I'm grateful for that.
Amen. You know, it's amazing where God can take us from, and He changes us, molds us, shapes us, and has us learn from our situations, then turns around and we can go back and get others. Basically, save to serve, which is a beautiful thing. Now, before you got involved in the dancing, you were involved in selling drugs. Talk about that experience, why you got involved in selling drugs. What were some of the drugs that you were selling? Shed some light on that experience.
I sold weed.
Okay.
You know, I think at that point I wanted to make a little money.
Okay.
And it was just the thing to do.
Okay.
And so I would bring it to school, stash it in certain places and certain body parts.
Okay.
And I would take it to school and distribute it.
Okay.
And I would also smoke my own
Okay.
stuff because
Smoking your own product. Okay.
yes, I would.
Okay.
So, but that's kind of what it was. Just wanting to make a little money.
Okay.
And also, I guess, just living the life. I guess.
Yeah.
Not really caring about anything.
Yeah. It's almost like when you get in that life, one thing adds to the next and the next and the next. And it's almost like you're on this downward spiral.
Yes.
And it's almost like you have to cover up this with something else. It's almost like a lie, where you tell the lie, and then you have to cover up that lie with another lie, and now you're on a downward spiral of lies. Question to you, Trecia. As your sister was selling drugs, as she was dancing, what were some of the things that you were involved in at that time?
Well, I was always the one that was I was better behaved than she was.
Okay.
So while she was selling drugs, I probably was going to classes.
Okay.
For the most part, or trying to go to classes every now and then.
Okay.
As far as the dancing, I understood what she was doing and I understood why she did it. Did I condone it? No.
Okay.
Not at all. But I understood why, because we were both going through situations at that time. You know, I was pregnant with my daughter
Okay.
at that time, and we were both illegal aliens.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money, and we
Okay.
didn't have anything. So I understand she was trying to make a living, but I'm so thankful that God turned our lives around and turned
Yeah.
her life around, and now she can speak of that as in the past and not as what it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
as it is
definitely.
right now. So
Definitely.
I'm grateful for that.
Definitely. For both of you, what eventually led you to the Seventh-day Adventist Church? Because you mentioned that your father was a Pentecostal preacher, grew up in a Pentecostal household. How did you learn about the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Sabbath? What brought you all to this?
You know, I'm going to say this really quickly, is that we moved from Flatbush
Okay.
to Crown Heights, right across the street from a Seventh-day Adventist church.
Okay.
And every day they used to come and sing this song, I know that I can make it, I know that I can stay. And I'm like, why don't these people just be quiet, you
Yeah.
know? Like, because they would come outside of the corner
Okay.
and sing it. So I didn't know that God had something, like God was doing something, because chances are, if I wasn't right across the street,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone to the church.
Yeah, definitely.
So what happened was that I became pregnant,
Okay.
and I had dropped out of high school. Plus, I had went to several different high schools.
Okay.
And so about 5, and I dropped out of the last one, and I was supposed to go take my GED.
Okay.
Things didn't work out the way I had planned for it to work out. So across the street from me at that church, they had a GED program.
Okay.
And so I ended up going over there to inquire about it. and I started the GD program there, and that's how I got involved. But the thing about it is that made me start to really go was that the pain that I was feeling I'm speechless just thinking about it. It was a very deep part of my life. I was so depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't really, I was that depressed. And I remember asking God to Lord, because I was pregnant, Lord, send your angels to rub my stomach. Lord, let your will be done.
Yeah.
At that point, I still wasn't a Christian, but we always prayed.
Okay.
No matter how bad we were.
Okay.
When situations arose, we always prayed.
Okay.
So one day I go to the church, and I remember the first day I went to church, I was in all black. I had on dark shades.
Okay.
And guess what? I go to church, and the song that they're singing is, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand.
The same song that you heard constantly.
But guess what? It hit me because I needed that. I needed that so badly. And I remember the pastor, it was Pastor Stevenson from Charlotte Church in Brooklyn, New York. And I came home and like, Trecia, you gotta hear this man. You gotta hear this man. He is so funny. And then she came like, I don't know when you came, but.
She came home and she invited me to church the next Sabbath, even though she wasn't a member. And I was like, okay. She said, the pastor's funny. He's a good speaker. I'll go. So I went. I went the next Sabbath. And then the following Sabbath after that, I got baptized.
Okay.
Yes. But let me say this how. Okay, we had a Bible worker. Her name was Denise George.
Okay.
Every time I would try to leave the church, that woman would block me. I would get up and try to leave early before they finish, so that I can go in and not talk to anybody or deal with anyone, because we had already been burnt by church folks from the Pentecostal church, so we were kind of a little bitter already.
Okay.
So, Denise would literally block my way. And so she was a Bible worker, and so she worked with us, and that's how we kind of start to learn. And listen, when we got baptized, we still didn't know about the Sabbath.
Yeah, okay.
But she would teach us about, your TV's on, you need to turn it off.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
She would really kind of mold us, and so she was definitely also, an inspiration.
In many ways, God was preparing us also.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there were many things that He spoke to me about that I needed to stop doing.
Yes.
Okay.
And I needed to behave a certain way. And this is before I even started going to church. So the transition, in a sense, was easy. I knew I was making a decision to serve God, to live for Him completely. And I made that decision the next Sabbath after the first time that I went. And I'm thankful that I did.
Okay.
You remember when we read the National Sunday Law?
Okay.
Way before we ever became Adventists.
Wow.
We read it years
So
ahead.
years before you actually became Seventh-day Adventist, you had read that.
Yes.
Okay.
He was preparing us.
Okay. It's amazing how we can look back on our lives and just see the hand of God in little events. And sometimes you don't see it at that time.
No.
It's not till years later where you look back and say, wow, I see God's hand there. I see it here. And it's all like a connecting dot, like the puzzle comes together and you see how God's hand was in things.
Yes, he's a dot connector.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So y'all are learning about the Sabbath, baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church. How did your family take this, being that you're coming from a strong Pentecostal background?
Wow.
Not good.
We were shunned.
Okay.
Basically, we were shunned. When we got baptized, no family member came to support us. It was the church family who came and supported us. Our mother was mad for a long time. For the longest time, she told us how
cried.
we were in a cult.
She cried.
And even the other day, I found a diary for her that I read. I shouldn't have read it, but I did.
Okay.
And it talked about when we became Seventh-day Adventists, how my father called her and told her, and how she was hurt.
Yeah.
And she was bruised. My parents are good people, you know, but their view of things are so different from how we see it.
Okay.
But yes, they were very upset. They were angry. They were hurt. They thought that we had been deceived.
Okay. So what do you think that hurt came from? Deception, or they just didn't understand how you could, start going to church on Saturday, the whole Sabbath thing? What was it that you think was the root of their issue, why they were so upset?
I think in that culture, and I'm not bashing anyone, because God has people in every denomination, and my parents are great Christian people. But I think our belief system, was that if you did not speak in tongues, and so I think with Mom, it was more like she was really concerned about our soul. Yeah. Because at times people, if you don't know the Adventism, sometimes you can misinterpret it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's what it was. I think she didn't understand. She didn't know what Seventh-day Adventism was
all about.
And I think she rejected that because she just didn't understand.
Yeah, didn't understand it. Yeah, definitely. Looking back on y'all's life, and seeing the different things that you have gone through, the using the drugs, the molestation at a young age, dancing, selling drugs, different things like that. What are some of the things, looking back, that you regret and why?
If I can be very honest,
Okay.
my biggest regret would be premarital sex.
Okay.
That would be my biggest
Okay, elaborate upon that.
My biggest regret, because I think that at that age, as a result of the molestation, I didn't know how to value myself completely.
Okay.
So I got into situations that I didn't know how to get myself out of.
Okay.
You know, and then you kind of like think somebody loves you, but they don't really love you.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so I think that, yeah, I had a daughter at an early age, and
Okay.
I just wasn't ready to be a mother.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't ready. So yes, I would definitely, that'd be my, I would, if I could relive my life, that would be a choice. I would definitely do, I would do differently.
Definitely. Keisha, how about you, for you, looking back on your life, what is something or some things that you might change in your life, if anything?
I think not taking my life as seriously when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Just definitely not being serious about a career and stuff like that, you know. But again, I'm very grateful, even for my past experiences, that it's really made me who I am.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. The reason I asked the question is, you know, there are a lot of people having premarital sex, as well as a lot of people that don't take life seriously at a younger age or in their 20s, even 30s and older. And, you know, people make mistakes constantly. And sometimes they don't know why they do it, or they're just doing it. But you ever heard somebody say, I wish I would have listened back then?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming from. Where my life, looking back on it, I wish I would have listened.
Yeah.
Because, you know, instead of having premarital sex, I should have listened.
Yes.
Instead of, you know, wanting to sell drugs, wanting to hang out, I should have listened. Because you avoid so many things just by listening. And that's one thing that definitely needs to get across to younger folks is, listen, my mom used to say that I'm bullheaded, stubborn. I'm the type of person that if somebody says the stove is hot, I literally have to touch it. It's just something in me, I have to touch it. And so often that's what happens with a lot of us, or different events happen in our life, like you say with the molestation, and we do things. When the reality is we should listen to somebody of wisdom and that's trying to steer us away from these things. But sometimes we say, no, they ain't right. They don't know what they're talking about. They're older. They lived many years ago, different things like that. But listening is very key.
Listening is so important. You know, I feel like, again, like I wish, one of the things I regret is going to 5 different high schools.
Yeah, wow.
I really wish I had focused and get my life together, and regardless of what my green card status was, my immigration status, I wish I had just focused. Because the woman that I am now is that's what I look back and regret, because I would have been so further on in my career.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I do have a great career now, but, you know.
Okay, definitely. Keisha, talk about where you considered abortion of your child years ago.
A very deep, dark place. I will never forget this.
Okay.
I wasn't on good terms with my mother. I had just heard some really devastating news about the father.
Okay.
And I was like, man. And so what I did was I called up my best friend, and I was like, listen, tomorrow we're going to this clinic, and, you know, you're going to tell your family that I had a miscarriage, and I'm going to tell my family I had a miscarriage, okay? And that's what we're going to do. And I heard a voice. Remember, I'm not close with God at that point, really.
Okay.
You know, I'm not close to my mom or anything like that. I heard a voice that said, call your mother, because, I mean, I was so distraught. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I cannot have this child for this man. I can't, Mom, I can't. And she said to me, Keisha, it doesn't matter who or what the father is. Your child is a blessing.
Yeah, definitely.
Carry your child and I will help you.
Definitely.
And let me tell you something.
That was like a relief.
Me carrying my daughter was the best gift that God has ever given me. Next to salvation, that is the second best gift.
Amen.
Because it is, I mean, whenever I would consider, because I was very suicidal for a time in my life. I was very suicidal.
Okay.
It was my daughter. God used my daughter to keep me.
Okay.
And so I could say that's, yes, if you're thinking about an abortion, consider it. God does not make mistakes.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, but God is the God who creates things within us. He's the creator, and so he will help you, and I'm a firm believer of that.
Definitely. Talk briefly about, you both are single mothers. Talk about the joys, the ups and the downs of being single mothers.
Well, I guess I'm a single mother by choice, right?
Okay.
I chose that path.
Okay.
you know what? It is a challenge because you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And the values that you're teaching your child, that you're teaching your child by yourself. And then the child becomes more like you by environment rather than by genes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it is a struggle. It's a struggle because you're putting your life on hold many times to make sure that your child, you know, gets the best of everything.
Definitely.
And that's what I find. That's what I find that has happened to me. However, what I look at is the fact that I did bring my child, and I have a beautiful daughter who brings joy to my life. Yeah. I feel like there's really, that's one of the strongest love a human being can ever experience, that for your child. Definitely. So it is hard, it is challenging, and I honestly wouldn't do it again. Yeah. I wouldn't do it over. I sure wouldn't. I love my daughter, but I wouldn't do it over. Definitely. But, you know, there's that rewarding part of it is just seeing your child looking at you and loving you the way that she does. Amen.
Now, looking back over your life real briefly, talk about the joy that you have now in serving God versus the false happiness that you had out in the world, quote unquote world, where you're doing drugs, dancing, different things like that. Talk about that joy that you have now, that everlasting joy.
What God brings to your life, I mean, what God brings to your life is, it makes you speechless. I struggled with love. I guess because of the abuse, I struggled with not having that love, with wanting to be loved. And let me tell you something. I remember the day I was getting baptized, I cried all day like a baby. And it was because that God loved me. He loved me despite of myself, in spite of who I was. He just loved me, just like this.
Wow, it's that unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
Definitely. I want you to talk briefly into the camera, and I want you to talk to that young woman that is dealing with some of the things that y'all dealt with. Give that young woman some encouragement that's dealing with some of that same stuff in her life.
You know, sometimes you go through things and you feel hopeless, and you question if you're meant to be alive, but you're meant to be alive. Nothing that you go through is too hard for God to break through. And everything that you go through is for a reason. Sometimes it's your own choice and your own doing, but God can bring you out of it. So there is hope. And it doesn't matter what your life has been in the past. It doesn't even matter what it is right now. What matters is who God is and what God will do for you, because He has a plan for your life. Just like He had a plan for Keisha and I, He has a plan for your life.
And I want to tell you also that that God is no respecter of persons. He is not. Amen. Like, I have a great career now. I mean, I'm not where I need to be, but I am where, you know, God wants me to be at the moment. And so if He can do it for me, if He can save you, I mean, if He can save me, He can save you too. So I know that you may be in a place where you are broken. I know that you may be in a place where you are hurting, but let's let God do it for you. Just trust Him.
Amen. Amen. I'd like to thank y'all for being on the program. Viewers, we'd like to encourage you to tune in next time for an exciting program of The New Journey.